Collaborating as a team is not something that comes naturally to everybody. As a leader, it's helpful to highlight the importance of teamwork. Leaders need to model cooperative behavior, recognize people who are collaborating well, and advocate for tools and performance measures that support collaboration. As a leader, finding ways to encourage and improve collaboration among members of your team is equally important for team success and your own. In this case study, we examine cultivating collaborative environments. Watch closely. Did the leader handle the matter correctly? Is there anything you would do differently? Let's take a look.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard is facing a federal lawsuit, accusing her of discriminating against the church. Redeemed Christian Church of God Resurrection Power Assembly alleges the mayor and the village failed to apply Dolton's zoning code by preventing the church from renovating the building it purchased. The pastor said the church needed more space because attendance has gone up. That church has operated in Dolton for the past 10 years. We're waiting for a response to the lawsuit from the village.
The grown-up thing would be for her to resign. Just get out of here, leave town. But she's not going to do that. You have disgraced this entire village and also disrespected each and every one of us.
In a special board meeting tonight, Dolton trustees voting to investigate controversial Mayor Tiffany Henyard. This comes as we have learned federal agents are investigating her and allegations of corruption.
Our Elizabeth Matthews was inside that heated board meeting. She's live in Dolton. Elizabeth.
Scott and Don, one trustee saying tonight that this is their last resort, their last stance. They cannot continue to stand by and see millions of dollars wasted.
Tiffany Henyard didn't show up in person, but she was brought up in conversation and a vote.
Motion passed for resolution number 24-002, calling for investigation of Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
The 4-trustee majority voting unanimously to call for an investigation into Henyard and what they say is the misuse of funds.
The Board of Trustees has repeatedly asked for financial information that we feel is entitled and has been denied that information. So we feel that we need to get intervention from somebody that can force this kind of action.
Who are you asking for that intervention? What bodies?
We're asking the FBI, State's Attorney, Attorney General, and Cook County Sheriff's Office.
Henyard became mayor in 2021, and for at least 2 of the 3 years, Fox 32 has been reporting on allegations of corruption in her capacity as mayor and Thornton Township supervisor. Concerns have led to trustees calling special meetings to get things done.
This meeting is an attempt for this legislative board to save Dolton.
They voted on items including asking for receipts for the mayor's trips and getting keys to Village Hall.
This has been a stain on our community. It's no way that we should be locked out of a place where we pay taxes.
Residents in attendance approving of the board's stance.
This has to stop. She cannot continue to intimidate and gangster her way through this.
We're not giving up because we refuse to let Tahoe Tiffany take our community.
I did reach out to the mayor for comment tonight. I didn't hear back from her, but through a PR company, I did hear back from the village administrator, Keith Freeman. He says in a statement, quote, "This is just another example of a few trustees in the village of Dolton spreading lies and false allegations. These are the same trustees that cut the public safety budget by $3.8 million, eliminated the bond for garbage removal, and have charged over $5 million in frivolous lawsuits that the Dolton taxpayers are stuck with the tab. The residents deserve better than this circus." Now, if the mayor vetoes this resolution to investigate herself, if she decides to veto that, the board tells me they will override her veto. Live in Dolton, Elizabeth Matthews, Fox 32, Chicago.
Fox 32 has information that indicates the FBI has launched an investigation into controversial Dolton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor Tiffany Henyard.
Dane Placco has been following allegations of her misspending and joins us now with an update.
We've been reporting for nearly 2 years on allegations of corruption surrounding Henyard in her capacity as Dolton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor. And now we've learned from multiple sources that federal agents are in fact interviewing witnesses as part of a possible investigation that may or may not result in charges. Did the FBI agents you talked to seem serious about
very serious
concerns?
Very serious. Very.
Lawrence Gardner owns a U-Haul rental and trucking business in South Suburban Dolton and says he went to the FBI several months ago, frustrated that the village of Dolton would not renew his business license. Gardner says he's been harassed and his business raided and shut down by Dolton police. He believes because he refused to make a donation to a civic event sponsored by Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
And I talked to a couple of agents and I explained them what was going on. I gave them all my paperwork to show them what was happening in court and what was happening in Dolton. And they told me they was investigating and they would be in touch with me.
Gardner is one of 6 people who confirmed to Fox 32 that they've been interviewed by the FBI, ranging from Dolton business owners to a former village employee and at least one public official. And we've learned the FBI has been using electronic surveillance as part of its investigation. Agents are asking questions about Henyard's alleged use of taxpayer dollars and resources, including massive spending on out-of-town trips, hundreds of thousands of dollars in police overtime for her personal security detail, using public employees and tax dollars for personal benefit, and holding up licenses to certain businesses like this Dolton restaurant.
I've heard rumors that say, hey, I'm on the wrong team.
Dwayne Wood has been trying to renew the business license for his restaurant for nearly a year. While he has not talked to the FBI, he believes he can't get approved because he's provided catering to several Dolton trustees who are engaged in a political fight with Henyard.
I think I've been just targeted because of my affiliation with a certain group of people. You know, I had the trustees. I've cooked for the trustees.
And in a lawsuit filed by a Dolton towing company, the owner alleges their business license has been held up because, quote, George's Towing's refusal to support or contribute to Henyard's political campaign. In a statement, Dolton trustee Jason House reacted to the news of the FBI's involvement. We welcome any investigation that will bring transparency on how taxpayer dollars are being spent. Our residents deserve this level of financial transparency.
We reached out to the FBI, which said it is policy for the agency not to comment on the nature, existence, or non-existence of any investigation that may be occurring. A public relations firm responded on behalf of the mayor, saying neither Henyard or the village of Dolton have received any subpoenas or been contacted by the FBI or any other law enforcement agency. Dane Placco, Fox 32, Chicago.
Developments after a new complaint is reported in Dolton.
And Elizabeth Matthews is standing by with more on what we know so far. Elizabeth?
Sylvia and Terrence, police sources are telling us that there was a police report filed here this week on Wednesday about an out-of-state sex assault filed here in South Holland with South Holland police that's actually connected to a Village of Dolton and Thornton Township work trip to Vegas last year. The chief of police here in South Holland tells us that no one's been arrested and there are no warrants out for anyone's arrest. But here's what we do know. Sources are telling Fox 32 that this police report coincides with an ongoing investigation by the Illinois Department of Human Rights. A complaint was filed with that department claiming sexual assault and retaliation against Tiffany Henyard, the Dolton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor. A former employee of Henyard says she was sexually assaulted by a Dolton trustee during a Vegas trip last year. The complaint says she was disoriented and didn't know how she woke up in the trustee's hotel room. Then when she spoke out about it, she was retaliated against and later fired. The South Holland police chief says they have shared what they now know with out-of-state police.
Right now, we are cooperating with the state of Nevada. We are waiting to hear back from them as far as where they're at with this investigation. We would like to provide them our full cooperation, but based on the investigation, I'm limited to certain things that I can't expound on.
So again, while this police report was filed here in South Holland this week on Wednesday, just 2 days ago, no one has been arrested. The investigation is ongoing. Live in South Holland, Elizabeth Matthews, Fox 32, Chicago.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you.
A South Suburban official tonight says if the allegations against Dolton's mayor are true, she should step down from the 2 government positions she holds.
He told that to our Regina Waldrop, who was at tonight's Thornton Township Board Trustees meeting.
We in the news every single day.
Referring to herself as super mayor.
Hey, I'm the first super mayor.
Tiffany Henyard had lots to say during Tuesday night's Thornton Township Board of Trustees meeting. but she left without taking any questions. Vegas, Mayor. NBC5 obtained copies of complaints accusing Mayor Henyard and an unnamed Village of Dolton trustee of sexual harassment, retaliation, and discrimination, and the Department of Human Rights tells NBC5 it is investigating. The complaints are focused on what allegedly happened on an economic development trip to Las Vegas last May. The mayor's now former assistant claims she was the victim of an unwanted sexual encounter carried out by that unnamed Dolton trustee, and as a result, filed this complaint. According to her complaint, after having dinner with the trustee, she started to feel disoriented. Then she blacked out. The next morning, she woke up in the trustee's hotel room with no memory of how she got there, experiencing physical discomfort. Officer Byron Miles, who was part of Mayor Henyard's security detail at the time, also filed a complaint with the Human Rights Department. He also went on that trip to Las Vegas and says in his complaint, the trustee called him on the phone and told him he had unprotected sex with the woman. In the complaint, he says he recorded some of their conversation. According to both complaints, the woman says when she told the mayor about the incident, the mayor said if the information became public, she would be ruined, that all the work she'd done would be lost. The ex-employee says the mayor told her she would take care of it and to trust her. Days later, according to her complaint, the woman says she was put on unpaid medical leave without her consent and later terminated. At Tuesday night's meeting, Thornton Township trustee Christopher Gonzalez called the allegations serious.
It's just unacceptable. It's disgusting. I mean, if that's true, you know, that there was an assault happened and then it was tried to whatever. I mean, I'm not exactly sure, but if there was attempt at a cover-up or something like that, then like I said, yeah, that's just unacceptable.
Gonzalez says if the allegations made against the mayor are found to be true, she should step down from both of her positions as mayor and Thornton Township supervisor.
If, you know, all these things come to where they've been proven and, you know, action has been taken, I mean, I don't see how, you know, she could continue as a township supervisor.
As for Dolton, the village board is expected to meet Monday night at 6:30. Reporting from South Holland, I'm Regina Waldrop, NBC5 News.
More drama in Dolton tonight. Several trustees are calling on the mayor and another village trustee to resign.
Both are at the center of an investigation. NBC5's Regina Waldrop started working on this case 6 months ago. She joins us now with more on what she's learned. Regina.
Marion and Stefan, we obtained copies of complaints accusing Mayor Tiffany Henyard and an unnamed Dolton trustee of sexual harassment, retaliation, and discrimination. And the Department of Human Rights tells us it is investigating. At the center of it all, a trip they all took last year to Las Vegas and a sexual encounter one woman says was not consensual.
There are 6 elected trustees on the Dolton Village Board. Some of them joined Mayor Tiffany Henyard last May on an economic development trip to Las Vegas. It was on that trip that the mayor's now former assistant claims she was the victim of an unwanted sexual encounter carried out by an unnamed Dolton trustee. She filed this complaint with the Department of Human Rights. According to the woman's complaint, after having dinner with the unnamed trustee, she started to feel disoriented. Then she blacked out. The next morning, she woke up in the trustee's hotel room with no memory of how she got there, experiencing physical discomfort. Officer Byron Miles, who was part of Mayor Henyard's security detail at the time, also filed a complaint with the Human Rights Department. He also went on that trip to Vegas and says in his complaint, the unnamed trustee called him on the phone and told him he had unprotected sex with the woman. In the complaint, he says he recorded some of their conversation. According to both complaints, the woman says when she told the mayor about the incident, the mayor said if this information became public, she'd be ruined. All the work she'd done would be lost. The ex-employee says the mayor told her she would take care of it and to trust her. Days later, according to her complaint, the woman was put on unpaid medical leave without her consent. She was later terminated. Trustees Tammy Brown, Kiana Belcher, and Brittany Norwood did not go on that trip to Vegas. By show of hands, how many of you knew about these allegations? They tell NBC5 they're stunned to learn about the investigation by the Department of Human Rights and the allegations made by the mayor's former assistant.
That could have been any one of us. That could have been either trustee. That could be anybody. I'm furious. This makes no sense. I'm hurt and I'm furious. That means that these people have known about this for some time. It's almost a year later.
The biggest fear is always, how far is this going to go before someone gets hurt? And now I feel like this is what it's come to.
The trustees say the mayor should have immediately launched an investigation. They're calling on the mayor and the unnamed trustee to resign.
For you to cover up something like this, allegations of someone doing this to someone, is horrible. And you cannot lead the village of Dolton under these circumstances. Everybody involved, if you hold a position, you should resign immediately. There's already enough shame being brought to this village. How much more? How much more?
In a statement, Trustee Jason House says he did not go on that trip to Vegas. NBC5 reached out to the 2 remaining trustees for comment, but didn't hear back. The village, in a statement, told NBC5 it conducted a thorough investigation into these allegations led by an independent third-party company. The statement goes on to say former police officer Miles was interviewed and denied knowing anything about these allegations, and the alleged victim refused to cooperate with our investigation. The statement continues, this is nothing more than 2 disgruntled village employees trying to make off with the taxpayers' hard-earned dollars. The village looks forward to defending these allegations and pursuing all other available remedies to the village.
To clarify, Byron Miles is still a Dolton police officer. Now, we asked the trustees if Officer Miles should have done more if he knew an unwanted sexual encounter occurred. They told us they're still digesting the allegations, and NBC5 did reach out to the attorney for Officer Miles and the alleged victim for a statement. Marion and Stephan, still a lot of work to do with this story.
All right, Regina, we know you'll be on top of it. Thank you so much.
The misuse of funds is among the many allegations discussed in South Suburban Dolton today. Residents got a chance to tell village trustees what their concerns are, including a multi-million-dollar deficit and multiple lawsuits the village is facing. NBC5's V. Wen has this story.
Dozens of Dolton residents filled this room at Lester Long facility Saturday morning for an event with the trustees. The special guest speaker, Dr. Nicole Scott.
We just got to keep pushing forward.
She's the founder of American Association of Single Parents and says she's been running into problems with the village over plans to renovate her property downtown and to expand their food pantry, Free Indeed Market.
Last year alone, we served over 20,000 individuals, and we need to expand, and they will not allow us to do that.
Since last July, she's been trying to get approval for permits and licensing from the village with no movement, she says, and now believes Mayor Tiffany Henyard and her administration may have special interest in her property.
I think their goal and hope is to take the property from us, to get it through eminent domain.
NBC5 reached out to the village of Dolton asking about Scott's specific case. The village administrator telling us in a statement, quote, "We are deeply disturbed by Dr. Nicole Scott's false allegations. She has not fulfilled the requirements in order to secure permits by the village of Dolton under the village code." He goes on to cite property tax issues and says the property has also failed multiple inspections.
What they're saying is not true. It took them 6 months to tell me that the things that I submitted were not sufficient. And I think that that is a stall. That is them trying to, wait me out.
This comes amid allegations from residents and trustees over Henyard's misuse of public funds, lavish spending, and mispayments to vendors. Several trustees telling NBC5 the village faces a growing $7 million deficit and multiple lawsuits. Some residents voiced their frustrations and concerns over the current administration.
Guys, we need to take the heart and put it back in Dolton.
Not only is it not entertaining, it is an injustice to the people who have known. We need to take our village back.
Meanwhile, Dr. Nicole Scott says she is trying to raise money to hire an attorney to take her fight against the village to court.
How long have you lived in Dolton?
38 years.
Have you ever not been able to get into Village Hall?
One time. Not one time.
Yet another surprise for residents of South Suburban Dolton who now say they can't get into their own village hall. This after some residents were locked out of a village board meeting last night.
The village is blaming safety concerns, but residents are pointing the finger at embattled Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Tonight, our Dane Placco has the latest controversy from Dolton.
And then I went to reach for the doors. You can't go in. Wait a minute. No offense. Y'all do know this is a government building.
Dalton resident Cheryl Hill used her cell phone to document what happened when she tried to get some paperwork at Dalton's Village Hall last week.
So what you mean? Why people can't come in there? Yeah. Why people can't come in there?
New security procedures went into effect last week, the village says, in response to threats against controversial Mayor Tiffany Henyard and village employees. It used to be the Dolton residents who needed to take care of a bill or a license perhaps would walk in the main entrance right here, and then they would go into this common area where you'd see the service desks back there, but now it's all locked right here.
Excuse me?
Now residents have to talk to a security guard behind a window in the vestibule and conduct their business in that small, cramped area.
Young lady showed up earlier this morning, went in, and was totally upset. She had no idea that she could not go into the building, just the foyer, had to do her paperwork standing outside in the rain.
We are being treated as the resident, I say we, as though we were in prison in our own town, in a place where we pay taxes.
That message of exclusion amplified last night when about 25 Dolton residents were locked out of a village board meeting as those inside blasted Henyard during public comment.
I wouldn't trust this woman if she stood on a stack of Bibles and had her tongue notarized. Not a damn thing she says comes out her mouth is true.
The meeting ended early when 4 opposition trustees walked out, saying there was ample room for the crowd and refusing entry to all would violate the Illinois Open Meetings Act.
The meeting was adjourned because we have to have enough space, so we have to. The Open Meetings Act requires that that we have enough space for everybody to get in.
As you just saw, is chaos amongst our 4 trustees. They didn't come here to handle the business. They came here to do a political theater stunt, which you just saw.
As for the decision to lock the doors on Village Hall, a Henyard spokesperson blames, quote, threats of violence as a result of the continuous misinformation portrayed by the media and internet bloggers who are using Dolton as a means to generate ratings and revenue. Our staff and elected officials have received several disturbing communications via emails, social media, phone calls, and visitors from across the country. As such, our security protocols have changed. But residents we talked to believe the mayor is hiding behind a security threat to keep them out of her business.
Because she have a lot of things she have to hide. She have to account for the money that's been spent.
In Dolton, Dane Placco, Fox 32 Chicago.
So what are your thoughts? Did the leader handle the matter correctly? Is there anything you would do differently? Let's discuss.